Alright, what's up folks? Rich Van Tassel with you, going into an NBA in-depth as the NFL season is wrapping up. Of course, you got the Super Bowl next week. We're going to start to do a little more with the NBA than we have been doing apart from the weekly NBA reports. I made mention of this in last week's weekly NBA report, well, Monday's weekly NBA report was still for this week, the New Orleans Pelicans and the analytics portion. I said I was going to go into it this weekend, and I had planned on it, but of course, part of it had to do with DeMarcus Cousins, and he just suffered a career, or not a career. It could be career threatening. You never know with an Achilles, but certainly a season-ending injury with the Achilles. Now, this is a team that has now won 7 of their last 8 games. They're really starting to come on. They had Cousins and Anthony Davis who were playing well. I thought a lot of it had to do with Rajon Rondo figuring out where to get those guys, where to get them the ball, all those sorts of things. But looking at the analytics, which is what I really wanted to talk about, I wanted to talk about what this team's potential was moving forward, because you have, Anthony Davis, who's not really a three-point shooter, but he's a guy who does shoot very well from the floor. He shoots 55% from the floor, of course, and on just shy of 2 3-pointers per game, he'll give you 34%. So he's shooting almost 18 shots, 17.6. Obviously, you can't have .6 shots in a game, but he's making almost 10. He's 9.7 of 7.6, which is 53%. And what I wanted to talk about with the analytics was how they could actually have a chance moving forward with that, because you have a guy shooting 55%. Look, he's making, almost 10 shots. That's 20, that's about 19 points is what he's giving you on his 2-point shots. He also shoots very well from the line. He gets to the line almost 8 times a game, giving you about 6 or 7 points. It's at 6.5 points from the line, 6.5 out of 7.9. 82% is highly effective, so he gets to the line a pretty good amount, and he gives you points at the line. He gives you a high percentage. So you're looking at it with, you take out his 3-point shots, where he'll still give you, about a half a 3 a game, shooting 34%. That's a case where, you might have had an opportunity with this team moving forward. And of course, now that DeMarcus Cousins is out, though, you got to wonder what this team is going to do. Are they going to rely heavily on Anthony Davis? And I guess we can transition into the analytics in that regard, because it's going to be certainly placed on Anthony Davis. Before we get back to Anthony Davis and his analytics potentials, we're going to look at DeMarcus Cousins, what he was doing, and this is why I thought when this team figured it out, they really may have been able to make some noise in the Western Conference. DeMarcus Cousins isn't shooting 50% from the floor. He's only shooting 47%, but DeMarcus Cousins is a guy who shoots 6 3-pointers per game and shoots it at 35%, over 35%. So he does enough, I think, in that regard, that this team really had a shot. Now, you look, he was giving you 8.5 made field goals on 18 field goals per game. Now, you take off his 3, because his 3s, that includes it, he would be making over 6 on less than 12 from his 2-point shots, which is over 50%. So, you're looking at 12 points per game on less than 12 shots from DeMarcus Cousins. This is just the 2-point shots. Of course, when we're comparing the analytics, we're talking 2s to 3s. And Anthony Davis, that is, you take off his 3s, he's giving you over 9 on less than 16 shots per game. So he's giving you, his numbers even increase at that rate, above the 55%. And remember, he's only been at 51% for his entire career up to this point. Actually, 52%, 51.8. So he's really upped his numbers this season. So you look at a guy who's giving you 18 points from the floor per game. This is just on the 2-point shots, and giving you, well, give him the 7 points from the line. It's against 6.5. So that right there is 25 points just on 2s and just on free throws, because you got to take the 3 points out, because remember, they're not really an analytical team in that regard. So we're looking at it as how well they can do against the analytics. So you look at that, that's 25 points. That's what he's going to be giving you on good shooting from the floor. Of course, his defense is spectacular. And from the line. Now, if you had DeMarcus Cousins, again, take off his three-point shots, which brings his numbers below the 50-point mark, or the 50% mark, as it is, he'd be giving you 12 points from the floor on his two-point shots, and he shoots at just shy of 75% from the line, getting to the line about 8 times per game. So they got to the line about equally. He's giving you 6 points. So in that sense, you're getting 18 points from him, but he's also giving you the three-point shot. So you saw this team winning 7 out of 8. You saw how they were developing, and I thought this really could have been a chance for them to make some noise and really kind of put a dent in the analytics situation. Now, a lot is going to be placed on Anthony Davis. Will he pick up his three-point shooting in that regard? I would expect, though, that what could be a blessing in disguise in this regard, and why I still think that they may be able to make some noise here despite the analytics and despite the fact that Anthony Davis is just a spectacular player. You know, we're looking at that in that regard. He always has to be considered for that. He's a guy who I think is that much of a game changer. You really don't look at the analytics much. But how many more of those shots that went to DeMarcus Cousins is he going to get? Now, he was already shooting just shy of 18 shots per game. You look at DeMarcus Cousins and how many shots he was shooting per game, and how many of those will now go to Anthony Davis. He was shooting 18 shots. Now, 6 of those were threes, so we're looking at about 12 twos. But say Anthony Davis shoots now 2 more threes. He starts giving you some points in that regard. If he makes, a few more of those, still keeps his percentage over the 33.5%. Now, of his 12 shots, DeMarcus Cousins' 12 shots that are now going to Anthony Davis, I would expect that a bulk of them are going to all go to Anthony Davis, or a bulk, if not all of them. He's probably going to get 10 more. So if he, this is a guy who may end up putting 30 points per game this year because of all the shots he's going to get. Now, he's at 26.5. He would really have to go on a tear. He's got a little less than half the season left to do it. But if he can go at 55%, on about 10 more shots, you're giving him about 11 more points per game from what he already has. Will that lead to him being an MVP? We'll have to see. With DeMarcus Cousins out, remember they're at 27 and 21, winners of 7 in the last 8. They're really climbing up the Western Conference. Again, you look at any teams outside of, Golden State and Houston. I don't even think Houston really has much of a shot against the Golden State Warriors. I think the Timberwolves would put up a much better series against the Warriors, even though the Warriors would come out on top of that. Oklahoma City Thunder, who's now won 6 straight games, they could also be in contention. But you look at New Orleans and Oklahoma City, I think outside of it, with Minnesota, you have 4 through 6, Minnesota, Oklahoma City, New Orleans. You're looking at any one of those teams that could have done it. Now, so Anthony Davis, again, we talk if he adds 11 points on to what he was doing just from the 2, say he gets maybe 3 more points per game just taking some of DeMarcus Cousins' threes in that regard. Other guys will have to shoot it as well. But you look, again, let's say he's making 9, this is in total field goals because we're looking at what he's going to get from DeMarcus Cousins. So he's shooting 17.6 shots, just shy of 18, making about 9.7, just shy of 10. If you're giving him 12 more shots per game, and one of them is a 2, or one of them is a 3, and 9, or giving him 10 more makes, that is. Well, no, we'll say 10 more shots from DeMarcus Cousins, and say he's making 7 of them. 6 2s, 1 3. So that would put him just shy of 17 made field goals on 28 shots. You shoot that, and you're looking, about 1 out of 3 from 3, 1.5 out of 3 from 3 for the rest of the season. Let's see. I mean, Anthony Davis may be putting on just ridiculous numbers by the end of the year. Now, it hurts that DeMarcus Cousins isn't in there. I think they would have done enough against the analytics to really have a chance. But Anthony Davis, if we're looking at any blessing in disguise, his numbers will certainly boost in that regard. And it's certainly something to keep an eye on. Again, a team that was coming along. I had won 7 of the last 8. This isn't really the video I wanted to do. I had it all planned out. for what I wanted to talk about with how they could beat the analytics with DeMarcus Cousins, but now that he is out for the season with the torn Achilles, we'll have to keep an eye on it. But a team that's coming on, so look for Anthony Davis's numbers to significantly increase, and I think in that regard, the way he makes his two-point shots, shooting well above 55%, that he could really still do some damage, and this team could come on. But we'll have to keep an eye on what's going to happen, of course, with Rajon Rondo. Will he be able to pick up his scoring? He doesn't shoot the ball well from outside. He'll have to get in the lane. Guys like Etuan Moore, Jrue Holiday, all those guys who really have got to obviously pick their game up. Where is the rest of the scoring going to come from? On this team, you look, Etuan Moore and Jrue Holiday were the only other guys in double figures. Jrue Holiday having a good year, just shy of 19 points. He shoots pretty well from two. He shoots, or overall in his field goals, he's just shy of 50% and 33% from three. So he's like right at the analytics numbers, 49.6, 33% from three. Now you take off his threes, that would be 6 makes on 13.8 shots. So, no, excuse me, 6 makes on 10.8 shots. So you take off his threes, he's shooting above 50% from the floor. So you look at that 49.6 number, remember that includes threes. So he does enough with the analytics to really help this team. We'll have to keep an eye on it. Again, I'm trying to do this quick math in my head, looking at the numbers with decimals, so I know I was a little slow on the draw with that one, but still shoots well above 50% from his twos and 33% from three, so he'll have to up his scoring, but really it's going to come down to Anthony Davis, and can he really be the analytical buster, and that will have to be what will carry New Orleans, because it's tough to see DeMarcus Cousins goes down. I think this team was finally figuring it out. I think Rajon Rondo was getting the ball to these guys where it needed to go. I think a good point guard was really helping. You saw they won 7 of the last 8. So we'll have to see what happens moving forward. All right, come Monday, we will give you the weekly NBA report, talk more about all these sorts of things, look into it. We'll at least give you one NBA in depth, maybe throw in some player focuses every Saturday. Be sure to check those out as well. And remember, we appreciate all subscriptions. Thank you all so much, and enjoy your weekend.